Hello, everyone, and welcome to our TISOH Speaker Series. For those who do not know me, my name is Anthony Lai. I'm the Student Affairs Program Manager here at TISOH. This afternoon, we have a very special guest with us, Deborah Nininger of DTN Productions International. Deborah brings us over 20 years of business etiquette, communication, self-presentation expertise, rooted in behavioral science and successful human interaction. Deborah organized international etiquette training for the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta for Coca-Cola and is a frequent subject of interviews, which often appear in publications both nationally and internationally. Deborah continues to spread throughout the world her contemporary approach to business and social courtesies via seminars, workshops, keynotes, webinars, and podcasts. Today, Deborah is going to provide expert tips for attending a career fair. She will coach us students on how to work the room and be the star spotlight at a networking event. During the talk, Deborah will cover how to make small talk, develop your 10-second commercial, and making that lasting impression to persuade eager recruiters to hire you for the job. Before we begin, we have a few instructions about the webinar. All of you in the audience are in the webinar background and are currently muted. If you do have a question for Deborah, type it in our Q&A feature or our chat feature. We will reserve the last 10 minutes for our Q&A session. This webinar is being recorded. Therefore, if you missed out a portion of this webinar, you can watch the entirety of Deborah's discussion on our YouTube at TISOH channel, which will be uploaded in the next few days. Now, we're going to go ahead and begin. Hi, Deborah.
Hello, Anthony. It's great to be here with you and everyone.
Yes, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go ahead and proceed with the presentation.
Absolutely. Well, I've had the pleasure of teaching in the world of soft skills and people skills now for over 20 years. And this happens to be a very highly requested program because as people are out there and about wanting to put forth the best impression, get the job that they love, then all of these little soft skills and teachable moments, I am delighted to share with you today. So as we get started, this is just one of the soft skills that I teach, but you're going to find that within today's webinar, there are oodles of different soft skills that I'll be recommending that you learn more about, because I'm sure you're all lifelong learners and what you can do to add more to your professional resume. All right, so let's get started. And as we get started with the content in general, I want to make sure that you do feel comfortable. As Anthony mentioned, please send your questions in the chat or in the Q&A. I will be watching for those. I can certainly answer them as we go along. And also, as Anthony mentioned, I will be saving some time at the end for some of your last minute questions that you would like to ask as well. But I'd like to highlight that what I'm going to be sharing with you today, everything I'm going to give you, it comes from the mouths of employers and recruiters. So when I talk about as you're out there meeting and greeting, and I realize we have people of different age groups, different backgrounds and experiences. Most of you probably have had jobs, different career paths, and now you're entering the world of hospitality. Well, what I'm going to be sharing with you includes many, many items that I've heard from right there in your own backyard, because in Las Vegas alone, I have the pleasure of training for the Wynn, for Bellagio, for MGM in general, for Caesars Entertainment, for the Cosmopolitan, and on and on. So I've been training in, as I said, your backyard for a number of years. So when I give you some of these tips today, yeah, some of these items, they've told me themselves, this is what they look for when they are actively hiring. So let's get started with what I call a few of the basics, and these truly are basics. What you need to know: that good manners, setting yourself apart from some of the rudeness we're experiencing today, and aren't we experiencing more than our fair share, or so it seems, that when you possess those extra special little manners that other people perhaps don't bother with, you immediately stand out. And because we're experiencing so much behavior that does come across as self-serving and downright rude, that when those little manners happen, that will cause people to go, oh, that was certainly something I don't often experience, such as someone who sent me a thank you note for an interview, or someone who uses all of the pleases and the thank yous when they send an email, or they follow up with an email just checking in to confirm our appointment tomorrow. So when you have that interview, how you confirm before you actually get to the interview, little things that a lot of people just don't bother doing. Good manners, not elitist at all. In fact, people who have the best manners, they are not snobs. They are totally authentic. They are sincere. There's nothing artificial about their manners whatsoever. So for me, I take a step back and I say, the best manners start with kindness. And if you are a kind, generous, thoughtful person, you already have an advantage over people who just don't seem to bother with that, or they don't know what they don't know, and they make mistakes that they could have avoided by attending perhaps a webinar, a workshop like today. Again, you get to immediately stand out when you go to those career fairs. Already you are showcasing your brand. When you walk up to that recruiter, when you introduce yourself, they're noticing everything about you. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about dress, and I'm going to also talk a lot about your body language, because your confidence needs to be palpable, where people know you believe in you. So I want to set the tone. Everything I'm giving you today matters. Nothing should be artificial. Nothing should feel awkward. In fact, the more comfortable you are with the things I'm going to share today, then automatically you will be more relaxed. The more relaxed you are, the more you can focus on the questions that they will be pelting at you. And the more you can focus on being present, being in the moment, so you can ask those really great, high quality questions. So part of all of what we're talking about today is being prepared. When you go to any career fair, one of the items that you want to make sure you are doing your due diligence on in advance would be, yes, checking out the social media of anyone you are trying to attract. If you're thinking of working for the Wynn or the Bellagio or whomever in Vegas, have you checked out their social media feed so that you know what is current, what is new, what is happening within their world? How do you show that I'm invested in wanting to work with you? How do I show you that I've done my homework on your organization, your property, because that shows I'm serious about having a desire to work for you specifically, and why? Because every company has a brand, and they spend a lot of time, energy, and money on developing their brand within the social media world. So they want to know, what have you done to research us so you can better speak to us? Because certainly, as I train for the Cosmopolitan, their culture is different than the culture of the Wynn, than the culture of, say, Caesars. Different properties, different culture, but still all under the umbrella of hospitality. And just the word hospitality in and of itself, people gravitate toward that because they're expecting something extra nice, extra comfortable, extra special. I love the world of hospitality. And I think you'll be feeling that by the end of this webinar as well, just how much I appreciate everyone in that particular vocation. Table manners I have up on the slide for you now, and you may wonder why, because I'm just going to pop this in quickly, because maybe when you're doing such a great job at that career fair and you've made that impression that you wanted to make, now you receive that invitation to meet with them, to have a face-to-face interview. Maybe you've already gone through a virtual interview. Now the second step or third step is usually a meal function. And as I say, don't think that when a potential employer invites you to a lunch, that they simply want to have a meal with you for no good reason. Oh no, there is a good reason. They want to check your social skill set. They want to see how you handle your knives and your forks and that you know which one to use. They want to see how you pass items around the table, which, by the way, yes, as it states on the slide, you do pass to the right. They want to see that you didn't immediately sit down and put your phone on the table as though you cannot live for 30 minutes without it. They want to notice that you can field their questions and answer them without talking, with food in your mouth, and that you did not, horrors, lick your fingers as some people do. They want to see how you pace yourself. Are you able to make small talk? And that you know what to do and what not to do with the napkin. And I will share a few things with you. The napkin only has two purposes and two purposes only. One is to blot the mouth, as you see the visual on the slide. And that visual, I know, has an old school look. And I did that specifically because this is one manner that has really been able to stand the test of time. It's an old etiquette rule that still applies today because some etiquette does change, it evolves out, but blotting your mouth before drinking is one that has remained, because you might have a little crumb on your face. You blot your mouth before drinking, and that way your glass doesn't have smudges around the top, or worse yet, food that then plops into your beverage. So you blot before drinking. And the other purpose of a napkin is to signal the server. And by signal, I don't mean you whip it around and wave it. That's not what I mean. But instead, you place your napkin over the back of the chair if you have to leave the table for any reason. So if you need to pop off to the washroom real quickly, you put it over the back of the chair. That signals the server, please don't take my plate of food. I am returning. Those are the two purposes of a napkin. A napkin is not a washcloth, so you don't dip it in your water if you spilled something on your clothing and try to clean up at the table. You don't spit any food into it that you happen to not like. And you do not bring it anywhere near the nose. If you're feeling a little nose dribble, you can blot your nose with a tissue, but never a napkin. And if you need to blow your nose, no one wants you at the table. It's please leave. Please just exit the table, go to the washroom, and then come back. And by the way, when you go to the washroom, don't tell people where you're going. As you stand up to excuse yourself for whatever reason, you just simply say, excuse me, and then off you go. People know where you're going. How far can you go? It's either the washroom or the exit, so they know you're leaving for one thing or the other. So you don't have to explain everything in detail. But I do want to suggest, even though I'm lightly covering this today, this meal is not to be taken lightly or to pass it off as it's not a big deal. It is a very big deal because, again, in today's environment, think of the equation H2H. In fact, we can put a hashtag in front of it. Hashtag H, the number 2H, as in human to human. This is one of the more popular hashtags in the social media world. It is quickly becoming something that employers are talking about all of the time in regard to how do we connect as people. And we notice each other, not just our fabulous backgrounds of experience and expertise and our academic backgrounds, but it's how do we connect as people? No one is expected to do it better than the world of hospitality. So have I put the pressure on? I think I might have, because when I say that to you, there's no tongue in cheek there. I am very serious because I notice all the little extra things that all of my hospitality clients do to make me feel welcomed in their presence constantly. It's always going above and beyond, but they do it seamlessly and with ease. It's just second nature, which includes when you are invited to a meal, it should be where you could just sit down. You don't have to give anything a second thought. You know which fork to use. You know what to do with the napkin. You know how to place your order of food. You know how to let people know you have a dietary restriction. You know how to make appropriate small talk that just helps the whole flow of that particular lunch. And lunch will be probably the one that you'll be invited to the most when you get to that next level of an interview. And by the way, even once you're hired, this happens within your career path, that perhaps as you're hoping to be promoted, as you're climbing that ladder and you want to achieve more, then guess what? More lunches happen. More dinners may happen as people want to socialize with you to check out the fine tuning of your people skills. So don't dismiss this as less than important. It is definitely a needed step with which to be very comfortable and at ease. You see the sandwich on this visual. Don't order it. That sandwich I have there specifically to remind you, don't order food that is clumsy or awkward. And that's a nightmare of a sandwich. As yummy as it looks, your mouth is going to have to open so wide as you're going to try to hold it. Things are going to fall out. Your hands are then going to be a sticky mess. Only order food that is easily negotiable through knife and fork, and where you don't have to worry about any of those other items that are less than easy to deal with. So I want to share a little bit on this for you. People will notice how you hold your silverware. So you don't hold your silverware straight up and down as though you're impaling your food to your plate. But there are knife and fork signals of how you tell the server you're still eating. You see the description, how you place your silverware when you're finished so that the server can remove your plate without having to ask you if you're finished. So all of those little things you want to have in check where you are comfortable so that the meal again gives you every opportunity to impress them with your table manners, yes, but your social skills in general. Social skills and business acumen should bump right up so that all of your knowledge and expertise complements your social skills and vice versa, where they're just married together perfectly. And as we go to the job fair itself, let me talk a little bit about the small talk situation of today. Did you know that making small talk is actually the new #1 public fear? It has replaced public speaking as the #1 fear. Yes, think about that for a moment. How to work the room, how to go from person to person, group to group, recruiter to recruiter, because small talk is essential. And of course, I do recommend avoid the obvious. I mean, the obvious would include the weather. The obvious that is very polarizing today and problematic would be anything political. And now with the pandemic, have we heard enough? I think we are all very well informed. We, again, have to do our own due diligence on the decisions we make, of course, but just talking about vaccinations versus no vaccinations, masks versus no masks. And you might actually get pulled into some conversations where you feel as though, oh my gosh, any answer I give is going to be wrong because you don't know on which side they fall. And so we had a big event last week, my daughter's wedding. And my daughter just made one request before the wedding. It was a small, very up close and personal wedding with very special friends, family who were invited. And her one request was, we do not discuss COVID at all. No one is going to be asked if they've been vaccinated or not, because everyone here has been invited because I wanted them here, but that is a discussion that is off the table. So me and my husband, her dad, we had to spread the word to everyone. And the wedding was under 50 people, but we spread the word. Alex doesn't want to know, doesn't care to know. You've all been invited. No discussion about COVID, please. And it worked out beautifully. I'm here to say it was fabulous, but we kind of had to let people know in advance so that there would be no awkwardness at all, because people were asking questions. Do I need to wear a mask? Should I tell her this? Should I not mention that? So right now, something to remember, there are so many different opinions. You cannot possibly be right all of the time. So you'll need to come up with some very clever ways to sidestep not answering questions that you perhaps are not comfortable answering. But in general, you'll find that with recruiters, they know the legal limitations of what they can and can't say. So be ready for, again, those quick little moments where you have to think on your feet. But the important thing to remember is that as you are walking up to greet the recruiters at these job fairs and career fairs, they've already spotted you maybe, 50 yards away, because they're doing the span with their eyes as they look through the room, and they're noticing people who are not even at their booth, who are not at their location, and they're watching people, and they're watching how people carry themselves and how they interact and how they walk. Are they confident? Do you come across as rushed, that you really don't have the time to be there? You're just going to rush in. And some recruiters have said people throw their resumes practically at them as though, here, take it, but they don't even try to engage. They don't realize that those recruiters can absolutely pass resumes on, or just make sure that some resumes just go nowhere. Recruiters have more power than a lot of potential employees think they have. And often recruiters feel very dismissed, but they are sometimes making less than cryptic notes on the back of certain resumes or on the back of cards, or they're making their own notes in their own notebooks with your name on it. Recruiters should be highly respected in general because they are there working, doing a job. You should not be insincere with them ever, but you should treat them as the working professional they are, and they are an ambassador for the company that they represent. So, how are you with your quick little introductions? Because as I tweet out that the new introduction of today is 10 seconds or less, that the 30-second introduction, or elevator speech as it has often been called, is so yesterday. That is so far removed from how expeditious and fast-paced that we are today, right? So everyone wants it fast and they want it furious, but you still want to do it with that finesse and with that extra little special spin on it that sets you apart. So how do you self-introduce? Think for a moment. If you walk up to me and you walk up to introduce yourself to me, how do you handle that? Because typically it's you give your name, and then I might ask you just a standardized question. Oh, what kind of a job are you looking for? Have you ever worked in hospitality before? What brings you to the world of hospitality? What intrigues you? What's the number one thing you think people in hospitality should be doing, should not be doing? And then there's this one, and this is a loaded question. How do you think the hospitality industry is going to survive, or do you think it will? I mean, it's like, yes, they're baiting you. Don't take the bait. Of course, the hospitality world is going to survive. It's going to thrive. That's life. We go through different iterations of things all of the time. And we should come out on the other end even better. That's my philosophy. So if we come out on the other end of all of this, even better, because we've recognized things where we could grow and improve, you have countless opportunities to showcase the best of who you are. So when they try to say anything negative, don't take the bait. Stay very upbeat, because the hospitality industry is going nowhere. It is needed. It is a lifeline for people. I live in Columbus, Ohio. Yes, that's where I'm speaking to you from today. And I can tell you that my clients, and I train for, as you heard Anthony mention, Coca-Cola. I train for Visa. I train for Discover. I train for Harvard. I train for Honda, AT&T. I could go on and on, all names you know. Everyone is saying to me, oh, I can't wait to go somewhere. I can't wait to go to conferences again. I can't wait to go on a luxury vacation again. So whether it's a person's personal world or a business world, people want to get back to that type of enjoyment that they have missed for a while. Hospitality can thrive right now. This gives you an opportunity to showcase what brings you to the world of hospitality. So right now, be prepared for that question. Considering how the pandemic has been, what makes you want to enter the world of hospitality? Are you concerned? So in 10 seconds, how can you introduce yourself to me that's going to make me put a check mark on your resume that says, we need to call this person in for a face-to-face interview? This is a winner. This is someone who would be so perfect for our team. I love their attitude. So right now, as you're making some notes, and I hope you are, make that note. How can I self-introduce in 10 seconds or less that would somehow showcase my passion? So maybe your answer could be in 10 seconds or less. I believe hospitality is needed more than ever, and I have a passion for it, and I can show it in everything I do, such as working for, and then you mention their name. So you don't make a long list of all of your attributes. You want to pick something that will jump out at them, but you need to speak it with conviction. You're not going to get me to believe in you if I don't think you believe in yourself. So I need to know that, number one, you've chosen something that you love. I know why I do what I do. I know why I chose the world of learning and development and training, and most notably, specifically soft skills, because here's my 10-second introduction. When people meet me, greet me at networking events, and they'll say, "Oh, Deborah, what is it exactly that you do?" Here's my introduction. Oh, I teach soft skills to help make people strong, because life is entirely too short to not know what to do. Bam, that's it. I have told you that I teach soft skills. And isn't life too short to not know what to do? Life's too short to feel awkward or uncomfortable. So now I have not told you that I've been doing this for over 25 years. I have not told you that I have over 50 different programs. I haven't told you that I have a couple of books that are being published early next year. I haven't told you who all of my clients are. In 10 seconds, I want to get your attention so that if you were a company interested in hiring a soft skills professional, I have just intrigued you. Oh, you're right, Deborah. People need to be strong with their soft skills. And oh, yes, life is too short to not know what to do. Tell me more. And so that usually is what then happens. Oh, how long have you been doing this? Who are some of your clients? What are some of your programs? So, in other words, dissect your 10-second introduction and figure out what kind of questions will they ask you next. Oh, you say that you have a real passion for this job. Well, how did you choose this? You need to have an answer ready. Oh, you said that you have a real passion for this job. What's the one thing you love most about the world of hospitality? Be ready, because recruiters are snappy and they're fast because they often have to make very quick decisions. And right now, yes, companies really need to hire people. Companies are in need of hiring people because things have changed since the pandemic. A lot of women have decided, especially if they are young mothers, they've decided childcare is too expensive. That's one of the number one reasons that a lot of women have not returned to work. They're staying home, doing the work from home thing for a while. So now there are more job opportunities for you than would have been there pre-pandemic. Are you ready to take advantage of these opportunities? Because they are there. But what if you have to take a lesser job to get you in the door? If that is your dream spot to work, then don't pass it up. Because I know many people who have gone from, say, a front desk position, a housekeeping position, even a car valet position, and they have ended up in a very high level position not too many years later because they got in the door and they had a chance to showcase themselves and to demonstrate what their brand is and what it is all about. So as you are at these career fairs and job fairs, I would also like to highlight, do not let your lack of feeling totally comfortable stop you. Don't wait for anyone to make you feel comfortable. Walk up to people, introduce yourself. Don't wait for people to introduce themselves to you. Now, the one caveat I do want to add to this right now, you do want to pay attention to what I call pandemic business etiquette. People are not wanting to shake hands. When I was in Las Vegas just a few weeks ago, I had people hugging me, I had people shaking hands, and I had people standing more than 6 feet away. So I experienced everything. There are some people who want to go back to shaking hands. There are many people who do not. In fact, I would say the majority don't. And then there are people who just do the elbow bump. There are people who just do the smile and nod. So don't offer your hand because it shows that you're not really in touch with all that's going on right now. So it'd be best just to go, hello, how are you? And if it's the elephant in the room you're feeling, just say, I think it's best we go without handshakes today. So if people feel awkward with that, so be it. It's up to you whether you take someone's hand in a handshake or not. I did go ahead and shake hands because I had my antibacterial gel handy, but that's a judgment call only you can make if someone offers their hand to you first. But if people are not offering hands, don't force it. Just a smile and a head nod. Hello, it's good to meet you. If you don't hear their name completely, ask for them to give you their name again. Never change their name. You heard my name is Deborah. I don't go by Anthony. Or I definitely don't go by Anthony. I don't go by Deborah Debbie, but also I don't call Anthony Tony. He has only always been referred to and given me his name as Anthony. I would never change his name. So listen to the person's name, pronounce it correctly, make no changes at all. And then you might want to write it down if you need to remember it, maybe even make a little note about that person in case, once again, you have a reason to reference to them again. I do recommend dressing professionally. I do, because I've had a few recruiters say, this person looked like they came straight from the gym. They were all sweaty and in their gym clothes, so I can only assume they had been working out, because here they are in their athleisure and they didn't look very professional. So I would suggest, As you remember, this is a first impression. Don't go walking in wearing something that you question yourself, was that the appropriate thing to do later? Because it's never bad to be a little better dressed. That's never a bad thing compared to feeling awkward because you are underdressed. Let's talk about your body language, and there's plenty of it, right? Do you make good eye contact? I was training with a company in Kansas City 2 weeks ago, and a young person who was trying to work his way into becoming a leader in the company could not make eye contact with me, with anyone actually, for longer than 1-2 seconds, and then he had to look away. And I thought, well, I know what I'm going to have to work with him on when it comes to his coaching session, because immediately people who cannot make eye contact, it says you're either hiding something, avoiding something, or you are very passive, you are very weak, you are lacking in confidence. And a lot of people don't want to have to worry about those types of things. They want to hire the people who believe in themselves and who exude that confidence right away. So make sure you have good eye contact, but I don't mean a staring contest. So you want to have good eye contact, but not where you're staring so much that people feel as though they want to shout, please blink. So do make sure that the eye contact is there, but not in a penetrating nor an intimidating manner. And when you walk in, do you walk in with purpose? Do you walk in as though I'm glad to be here? You don't want to walk in as though you're struggling and you're shuffling your feet. You don't want to walk in as though you're exhausted, even though you might be. But you want to walk in where you have purpose behind your posture. Make it very meaningful as they're watching you walk over to them. Do you know if you have an approachable look on your face? Because if you look approachable, it doesn't mean that you're smiling all of the time, but it means that your facial muscles are more relaxed. You look more comfortable. So a smile will help relax those facial muscles if you have any doubt about that. And the smile needs to be natural. And as I said, no, you don't have to smile all of the time with your mouth. You can also smile with just your eyes. In fact, try it right now, because you might end up doing a virtual interview at some point too, because sometimes there'll be 3 or 4 different types of interviews that take place before you're hired. And so you want to make sure that as you smile with your eyes, that's wonderful when you're in person, but it also works virtually as well. So let's try it. Just think of something happy, and I can't see you, you can see me, but think of something happy and smile as I'm doing right now, but I am not moving my mouth, but my eyes have now moved even more upward. It might be hard to see behind the glasses, but I can physically feel as I'm thinking of something happy and I'm smiling with my eyes, my eye muscles are moving my eyes upward. And we've seen that a lot, haven't we, as we wear our masks? So when you think about that, we've been doing that. I find myself smiling at people and behind the mask, and we're mandated to wear them here in Ohio as well, that behind the mask, people can't see my smile or my lipstick, but because I am smiling, the eyes are going up and they can see that. So how friendly, how approachable do you look? But I emphasize again, needs to be authentic. Before people notice how well groomed you are, how well dressed you are, they notice your body language. Body language is the first impression you make. So you want it to be one that says, I'm confident, not cocky, but I believe in me. Social media, I think you can safely assume that as people interview you, they're going to check you out. They're going to check you out thoroughly. So in addition to the fact that I recommended that you check out the social media of anyone and everyone with whom you are interviewing, you are going to want to be very careful what you are putting on social media that a potential employer can access. because if your name is hashtag, people can find you, and you want to be very protective of yourself and your brand because people will do their best to check you out. I did another webinar earlier today, and I already have people who are following me who immediately went to Twitter. A few went to LinkedIn right away, and they checked me out. Some of them chose to follow me, some haven't yet, but I get alerts when people check me out. People do it automatically. I don't do any ghostwriting. So when you read any of my tweets or any of my posts on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, that's coming from me. Those are my words that I have posted. So everything that I post is authentically something coming from me. And I'm very, very careful to make sure that I don't have any posts that I would not want out there about myself. And no, I did not post my daughter's wedding. There are no wedding pictures. I'm not going to invade her privacy that way and plaster it everywhere. I know some people enjoy doing that, but I wouldn't do that, number one, without her permission. But also, I'm not so sure I want to cross that line. People judge you. And the reason I'm highlighting this, people judge you. The more they know about you, they form opinions. We are all little Judge Judys in one way or another. So people want to see if they can find out a little bit about you. What do you like? What do you do? Who are your friends? So yes, they're going to check you out. Period. End of story. You cannot escape it, but you can protect yourself. Now, company expectations, the more you know their culture, it's going to help you. So whether it is a business casual look, if it's more dressed up, there are some places where I train where, for instance, in Las Vegas, where the women have to be dressed up a lot more than other locations. So there is not any property in Vegas that has exactly the same dress code where I train. It's a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a lot of this and who knows what else. And the same thing applies even when I'm training in the banking world. Some of my banks, Chase Bank, has a whole different culture than when I'm training from another banking world like Visa. So when you think about that particular culture, you may want to just pop into the environment, just kind of see how people are dressed, get a feel for the look. What are the company expectations? Because you want to make sure that you don't have a look that is completely the opposite of what they are going for. The Cosmopolitan happens to be one of the more trendy operations of all in Las Vegas. Now that they are being purchased, though, by MGM, who knows? That may change down the road. Everyone likes to be known for, this is who we are. This is our brand. This is what we are known for. So do a little extra research in advance, both through their social media, but also maybe just sit in their lobby or walk through the property to see if you can see the people. I know some people take their name badges off when they exit their offices, but you can usually tell who works there. But get a feel. What is their culture? It's always better to be a little more dressed up. Be ready. And if you have an option, if you go a little more conservative, sometimes that's a little better whenever you're in doubt. Women have far more options than men when it comes to clothing choices. I mean, men don't make as many mistakes, but then how wrong can you go as a man because your options are so limited? But for women, oh, there are oodles of options, but be very careful that your option is not going to in any way cause people to raise an eyebrow. And then if you are lucky enough to be invited to an internship, yay. And I call this the 13-week interview. Sometimes the internships are longer. Sometimes they are that particular summer 13-week interview process where the internship is over the summer months. Sometimes they're smack dab in the middle of the year. So it does depend from organization to organization, but think of it as you're on a constant interview every day. People are noticing how you treat fellow employees. They're noticing your reliability. They're noticing your dress. They are noticing your attitude. This is where getting any and all feedback, and don't wait until the end, but as you move along, you could be popping in and asking, what else could I learn while I'm here? What else could I help with? Is there someone you would like to have mentor me so I can help in a different way while I'm here? Look for opportunities. Be very vocal. Be willing to take on more things rather than coming across as, oh no, I'm doing enough, because they're going to notice how you really fit into the overall team, but also how willing you are to perhaps go the extra distance. And where did this all begin? It began most likely at that career fair, the job fair where they met you. And if you came across as a go-getter, a hard worker, someone who was willing to go the extra distance, to do the little extras, those are things that could land you a very coveted paid internship, and also give you a chance to really prove yourself and maybe get a specific, very plum job that was being held for someone else who perhaps wasn't returning. The opportunities are really there in abundance right now. Do you have to work for them? Yes, but they are there. And of course, a few little more things to ponder. I've mentioned the importance of being reliable. You have to be reliable. You cannot overpromise and underdeliver. And to be a whiner, to complain about things, just don't do that. Have that zero excuse mentality. But you really want to be known as someone that if I say I'm going to do it, I do it. And I'm sure you've heard the cliche, and actually it's a quote from someone in the past, that if you show up on time, actually you're late. You should always be early. And I know that that particular quote's been around forever, but it does hold true a little bit. It is better to be just a little bit early than to ever be late. Be known as someone who reduces stress. And when you reduce the stress in others, you're also reducing stress in yourself too. Look at it that way. It's all good. Be accountable. If you make a mistake, own it. No one's perfect. You're going to make mistakes. When you get the job, before you get the job, maybe during the interview, during the internship, own it, because it shows that they can trust you. Whenever you own it, people go, oh, this person is accountable. That immediately sets you apart from the person who says, oh no, not my mistake, or I didn't know, that's not my fault, that's not my problem. That's not a good attitude, not at all. Be honest, be kind, be confident, and strut your stuff. Be your own best advocate. I want you to sell me on you. And so I want to hear all the good things you know about yourself and what you believe in and how you anticipate growing. What are your next steps? Be careful again with any questions that could possibly bait you, because sometimes they will even ask you things such as, well, if you won the lottery tomorrow, what would you do? The incorrect answer is to say, well, I wouldn't be here on this interview, because that indicates that, you know, you're not really sold on this job that much. And you might think it's funny. They're not going to find it that funny. Be careful with your answers. If you need to take a purposeful pause as you wait, as you hesitate to answer their questions, take the time. Take the time, but be your authentic self. Now, I did save a few minutes here at the end for your questions. I promised Anthony that I would save at least 10 minutes for you, which we have. But this is what I have up on the screen for you now. If you do have questions of me later, certainly here is my contact information and my social media information. So feel free to reach out with any questions you have later, because just know, I have followed the career paths of many. And this is one of those things when you start off right and you feel good about it, you just set yourself off in the right direction and you don't have to look back because you're protecting your brand. So what questions do you have for me? And Anthony, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yes, thank you, Deborah. Lots of great advice, lots of good tips that and takeaways that a lot of our students would use and come in handy. Students, if you have questions for Deborah, please type it in on the Q&A feature or on our chat feature. Just click on the icons right below your Zoom screen. While we wait for any of the questions to come in, I have a question for you, Deborah.
Sure.
With regards to table manners, I think a common thing that's always on my mind is who pays? Yes, it's like what if the server gives you, the interviewee, the check, and then do you hand it off to the person that treated you out to lunch, or do you put the credit card in, or do you make that implication? Who pays?
All of the above. All right. Well, number one, I suggest never go to a meal without being able to pay for yourself. Always be ready and prepared to pay for yourself, but it should not happen. But you can reduce your stress by knowing I have money on a credit card or I have cash. I can take care of paying for me. Because the person who does the inviting, and this is an old etiquette rule, but it is one that still has application today. If you do the inviting, you do the paying, period. And so because they are interviewing you, without exception, they should be establishing with the server that they are in fact the host and you are their guest. So Anthony, if you were my guest today, as the host comes over to take our food order, I would say to the server, I would say, oh, my guest will order first. So I try to set that up right away so that the server then knows you are the guest. Now, does everyone do that? No, but it would be nice if they did. So in lieu of that, when the check arrives on the table, and if servers are in doubt as to who's supposed to pay, typically they place it in a very neutral position. Don't grab for it. Do not go for it at all, because they should be picking that up. So if it sits there, what you can say is, thank you so much for inviting me to this delightful lunch today. I hope I've answered all of your questions. And so that way you're saying to them, I'm not picking up that check. You just simply say, thank you for inviting me. Because some people, they will let that check sit there forever, and then it becomes so uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you for that. Question from Maria. Maria is asking, when would you say is the right time to follow someone on LinkedIn? Same day or a few days later?
Typically, I recommend within 24 hours, keep that fresh. Keep it very fresh, as though this just happened. And that way you can remember their name, they can remember yours. I wouldn't go past 48 hours. I would say same day within 24 hours is the best.
Also, a question on social media. Let's say, we have, when we're young, we do things, we post stuff that maybe is currently on our social media channels. What is the best way to change it? Like, do we post a lot more new stuff? Do we delete it? What if there's some things that maybe we weren't really proud of, but it's there, it's
right. If there is anything where you have doubt as to if it's going to negatively impact your opportunity for a job or a promotion, I suggest delete it. Delete it, change your settings to where things are private, where people will not be able to access it. And I know that people say there's no such thing as private. People find a way to hack in, that they do find a way to somehow get past the private setting. But I would say if it could possibly cause any damage to you, get rid of it. Or at the very least, be ready to explain it if it comes up. So such as saying, Yes, I made a mistake with that 5 years ago, and believe me, that has never happened since, and it won't happen in the future. Maybe it's a situation where someone had too much to drink and they were posted, with a photo that was less than flattering, something like that. But if it's something you can explain away, you're probably okay. But if you cannot explain it away in a very short manner, then delete it.
Of course. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Looks like we pretty much answered most of the questions, but if any students, you can also reach out to Deborah Nininger through this presentation slide. You can connect with her. This concludes our webinar, Expert Tips for Attending a Career Fair with Deborah Nininger. Thank you again to our audience for participating in this great discussion. Once again, if you have missed out a portion of this webinar, you can watch its entirety on our YouTube channel. Follow us at TISOH channel. Thank you, Deborah, for taking the time out of your busy day for providing us some great tips. To our students, please continue to visit us on TISOH Now if you're a current student, and also on TISOH Next if you are a TISOH alum. This is websites that are dedicated for you to stay up to date on the latest news and happenings at TISOH. Other than that, have a wonderful afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.